Hey y'all, welcome back to the Reading Stack. I'm Hunter, and today I've got an interesting read to share with you. It is actually an essay or a book full of short essays. It is Nature by Ralph Waldo Emerson. And this is a really interesting little book that um, somebody in the comments on the Walden video I did the review had recommended this book to really explore the thought further and just to read something great. I really appreciate that recommendation. Or any recommendations you have for like a book to review or to read, I just appreciate it so. And this book was really good, really short. I had just finished it. It is such a good book for any nature lovers. It is such a good book. And to share with you what the book is, Nature is an essay, essentially. It was Ralph Waldo Emerson, the author's first published work in 1836. It's 56 pages long. Essentially, he wrote this, from what I understand, he wrote this to people to persuade them to enjoy, as I think it says in chapter 1, the introduction, for us to enjoy an original relation to the universe, to nature as a whole. And this book, as I saw it, one of the key things it brings out is this philosophy of transcendentalism. And I think what happened is Ralph Waldo Emerson, from my knowledge, wrote this, and then people that took issue with it critiqued it and called it transcendentalist, to put it down, or be critical. And as things often do, that was adopted, as sort of the philosophy and the movement of like Ralph Waldo Emerson and Henry David Thoreau and people like that in the 1800s, sort of a way of seeing the world and relating to it. And in the book, I think, from my knowledge, he was critiquing some religious and philosophical ideas at the time. And I know he talks about in here of one religious group. I can't remember who it was, but as it's been common through Christian history and different things, people have seen, matter and nature is good or like inherently evil, and different ideas and what would you say, different heresies you might would say of how one thinks of the world, different disagreements and views. So this book is really him stating the way he sees nature and kind of giving a really compelling argument for nature and its parts, its uses, and just what it is to man. Like some of the divisions of the book, the chapters, I know one chapter was called Beauty, another Language, another Discipline, Idealism is another, and Spirit. Language was probably my favorite chapter, as well as Discipline. Language was very interesting in thinking about how human beings are so intertwined with nature in how culture and society develops and basically in how we are as human beings. So to enjoy an original relation to the universe, it helps for us to really see our place in it, in the universe, and to understand nature, to see these things, ourselves and it, connected. And what I think in Language, which is where I want to read from first to explain the book, to explain what nature this book is. He says this on page 17. He says, every word which is used to express a moral or intellectual fact, if traced to its root, is found to be borrowed from some material appearance. Right means straight, wrong means twisted, spirit primarily means wind, transgression, the crossing of a line, supercilious, the raising of the eyebrow. We say the heart to express emotion, the head to denote thought, and thought and emotion are words borrowed from sensible things. and now appropriated to spiritual nature. So what he's talking about is you see material nature, things outside, or naturally we see the heart, and we use that to describe emotion and passion and things like that. And to state this further, on the next page, he says this on page 18. I thought this quote was dynamite in the way of explaining how we really see things fundamentally, and the connection between the natural and the word we apply to something that's immaterial, something we can't see, taste, touch, feel, but that generally we accept as there. So he says this: every natural fact is a symbol of some spiritual fact. Every appearance in nature corresponds to some state of the mind. And that state of the mind can only be described by presenting that natural appearance as its picture. An enraged man is a lion. A cunning man is a fox. A firm man is a rock. A learned man is a torch. A lamb is innocence. A snake is subtle spite. Flowers express to us the delicate affections. Light and darkness are our familiar expression for knowledge and ignorance, and heat for love. Visible distance behind us and before us is respectively our image of memory and hope. And so it's very interesting, what he's saying there. And it's like, if you read a lot of like Eastern philosophy and like really early Greek philosophy, a lot of these things are really applied, to explain a great philosophical concept. It's using the river as the illustration, or using a fire, or using an animal, as we have reviewed Aesop's fables. There's a little bit of that going on. Symbolism through the creatures to express moral lessons to man. So it's very amazing in that chapter, just all the ways it goes to express language. And it even talks about, as I'm speaking now, the lungs and everything, the diaphragm is, compressing air, I believe. And through all of this, it is shaping the wind, as he says, to form words. I just thought that was so beautiful to think about, that, the songs we hear, the speeches we hear, are essentially somebody crafting with the jaw, the teeth, tongue, all of these things, with forcing that wind, natural wind, into words that we comprehend and understand as meaning. So while this is very short, it is just filled with stuff that really makes you think and be like, whoa. Like maybe thinking that way as a kid, and he talks about that being like in a state of innocence and youth, that as we grow older, maybe society kind of a corrupting influence, we are influenced by our peers, we lose some things, but going back to nature, we regain these things, this humility and worship, appreciation, and these values and ideas that we can be taught by nature. Creator, essentially, and he might have been Unitarian, having some ideas about God, but I can't say that for sure. But the Creator benevolence going through nature to us, and so much of that was very interesting in this book. Just thinking about that it reminds me of the argument for God, and it kind of, the fine-tuning argument, just basically there's so many factors that on Earth and in the universe that if they were off in any way, the distance of the sun from the Earth or the moon, or the chemicals we breathe, the oxygen content and all this, if stuff was different, there's no way life at all on Earth would be humanly possible. Things like this. It reminds me of that, just how the natural things we see are set up to support life. It's a miracle, really. Just really crazy. And sometimes we spend so much time cooped up in our houses, or our cars, or at work, and we lose sight of these things. But you go out to the natural world, to the Grand Canyon, to the river, see the ocean, and it's like, whoa, there's a kind of a cleansing or a catharsis where you're like, whoa, I'm in wonder and awe again. And so the book is just, this essay is just incredibly beautiful in how it does that. And it was interesting because I don't know a lot of, I read Thoreau and I've read Emerson, just this, and I don't know a lot of the ideas of transcendentalism and the different odds and ends of it, but I enjoyed both of those works a lot. Walden, that I reviewed, and this Nature. So I hope to read more from my experience in reading Nature about this. It's been stunning. And that's just me reading it, and then the mental pictures it conveys of nature. It's a very beautiful book. One more thing I'd like to read before I go is towards the end of the book. It's talking about poetry and just how Shakespeare being one of the greatest writers in the English. He says, "Take those lips away which so sweetly were forsworn, and those eyes, the break of day, lights that do mislead the morn." The wild beauty of this hyperbole, I may say in passing, it would not be easy to match in literature. And he explores that more, just how Shakespeare, to be such a great writer, he had to have such a great understanding as a poet of nature and what it does and how it can be expressed to connect with somebody like the woman he loves or his enemy, or so much to where when we read it, we're just enthralled. The meaning that's conveyed, that it goes back to nature. And there's so much Emerson says in here, but for me, in my mind, I'm really attracted or zoomed in from what I'm giving you of about that language faculty and connecting that to nature. And it might just be my interest in poetry and just kind of the wonderment I get about nature when I read some poetry. But that's really what I want to share with you about nature. I hope you will check this out. There's really no reason I can think of not to read it, not to give it a shot. I've kind of given you a little bit about what it's about, but the book is so short, you could read it in I don't know, probably 2 hours is like a modest 3 hours. It wouldn't take you long at all, but boy, the thought he really put into this is just incredible. And I hope you will check out Nature by Ralph Waldo Emerson. Thank you guys for watching. Y'all have a great day. Like, subscribe, comment. What are your thoughts? Check out some of the other videos or the podcast that's available in the link. Check out our Instagram page as well. That's where I can interact with you guys best. And let me know what y'all are reading. Peace.